What is good, everybody? This is your man Monteasy, and I am back here with another Monteasy Chronicles. And this subject here has been very, very interesting to me. I've been watching this go on for a little while now, and I've really kept my opinions to myself until I really did a deeper dive into the situation because I think this applies to life in many ways. But I really want to talk about this because it's very, very compelling. And that situation I am talking about is Sheryl Swoopes versus Caitlin Clark. And, it's funny because I've been watching what Stephen A has said, I've been watching what social media has said, and I really wanted to take my time before I divvy my opinion into this and before I spoke. So now that I'm really seeing, the Caitlin Clark effect and what has happened in the WNBA with this, pulverizing point guard that plays for the Indiana Fever, I really wanted to break down what I really think has happened from the beginning to now and my opinions on it. Even beginning from, Caitlin Clark while she was in Iowa breaking, Sheryl Swoopes records and Sheryl Swoopes comments at the beginning of it, and to seeing where the game has grown and to see how this storyline has grown between the old guard and the new guard, it really shows a lot. And let me break this down. First of all, Sheryl Swoopes is, a three-time WNBA and WNBA MVP. She literally could be called the greatest of all time, depending on who you ask. Definitely one of the top 15, 20 of all time. She's won 3 Olympic gold medals and, one of 11 women's basketball players to have won that NCAA championship. You know what I mean? She literally could be the GOAT. And I think that for her, my opinion is I think she's afraid of her legacy kind of being tarnished in a way by said Caitlin Clark because of how Caitlin Clark is expanding the game. I think the old guard comes in and not necessarily thinking that it's to a point of this level. It almost feels like Sheryl feels that Caitlin either hasn't earned all this egregious and praise that she's getting, and that, hey, let's not put too much on this young girl. Let her prove herself. Let her prove herself. I believe that Cheryl is right to have her opinion, but the consistency of, even doing the podcast and not necessarily, mentioning her, but mentioning all the Indiana teammates of Caitlin's, but not mentioning her, and then saying, well, everybody else needs to get their credit as well. It's like, look, it's easy for you to say, look, shout out to Caitlin, what she's doing. The market shares has gone up. Jersey sales has gone up. Everything has gone up since this young girl's gotten in the NBA. Do I necessarily understand it? Maybe not, but I'm not going to dispel her in any way. Obviously, they've exchanged text messages, but it just seems like publicly it's a problem sometimes when it comes to Cheryl and how she feels about Caitlin Clark. And it's hard for people sometimes, I notice with a lot of older players to feel like their legacy is being taken away from them. You got to think people like Candace Parker, even her being the latest, or Sheryl Swoopes or Rebecca Lobo, even Diana Taurasi, who still plays in the league. But at that time, it was a struggle for a lot of these women to come in this league, and they weren't making a whole lot of money, and they weren't, being put into the light that they are now. And then for somebody as Caitlin Clark, who was as young as she is, and because of her game, it can almost feel offensive to the older guard. But this girl's balling. This girl, Caitlin Clark, is absolutely balling. I mean, she is tearing the league up by storm. Setting NCAA records, setting WNBA records in her rookie season. Bona fide rookie of the year. I don't care what nobody say. We can talk about the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark rookie of the year race. I don't think it's even close right now in this. I mean, this girl's dropping, 19 points a game? 19 points a game, shooting 34% from three, I believe. Field goal percentage is like 43%, averaging 8-9 assists a game. The girl is tearing it up in college. She was dropping 26, 27, 28, 31. I mean, the girl's a scorer. And now she's, doing in the NBA the WNBA what she did in college. Like, she's tearing it up. You know what I mean? And honestly, right now, her field goal percentage is a little bit less, but it's literally almost the same. Minutes per game is the same. She's played all the games, and we're about to get into the playoffs, and she's killing it. She's breaking assist records, man. This girl is the truth. And I think that for Sheryl, I think it's hard for the older guard and just to be like, yo, man, you kind of sound like you have these strong opinions about this girl. You'd be like, look, she's doing a thing. Let's see where her career goes. Let's give her some time and just say, hey, yo, salute. I wish you the best. But at first, I wasn't feeling like Sheryl wasn't hating at first until the conversation she had with Nancy Lieberman on the phone, and because they had a disagreement on the phone that, you know what I mean, that they're not talking anymore because of a disagreement, about this situation. And I am literally sitting here saying to myself, like, it's not good. It really shows to me that it's more of a personal thing to me. It feels more personal in what Sheryl's saying. If you have a disagreement with one of your contemporaries and, over the phone, and then you start taking it that personal, you know what I mean? And it escalates because of a disagreement. I think that Sheryl feels, I think sometimes athletes feel that their legacy is being threatened. And sometimes when somebody comes in years later down the line, and once somebody's breaking your record, somebody's making these big moves, and then you start looking at them and you start feeling like your legacy is kind of being tarnished because nobody's doing what Caitlyn has done for this league. And to be honest with you, she's never asked for it. She's just balling. She's humble. She's minding her business. And I just think that it's hard for the old guard sometimes to just say, you know what, I wish her the best, I salute. But when you're overly critical, or you're like omitting that person from certain praise, and you're doing everything around it, but your body language and stuff that you're saying kind of feels like you don't want to sound like you come off as hating, but you are. You know what I mean? It's tough. Now, having an opinion and hating on somebody are two different things. Once again, let me clarify. I didn't feel Sheryl was at first until the private conversation with Nancy Lieberman happened, and Sheryl quote tweeted on Twitter about some comments, and she didn't even give it a chance she didn't even read the whole clip or understood what she was saying. She just saw the piece of what was said and then quote tweeted. It's like, yeah, you have an emotional reaction to this whole Caitlin Clark situation for some reason. I thoroughly feel, in my opinion, she feels like her legacy is being tarnished. I think that, when you've been the dominant person in the NBA and then there's somebody who is a threat, breaking your college record, and then is coming in the league, setting records already, some people feel like their legacy is being threatened, especially the older guard. And you just got to be comfortable in what you did. Like I said, this woman is arguably the most accomplished WNBA player of all time, at least one of them. You know what I mean? 3-time gold medalist, 3-time MVP. Ball players, no ball players. Stars, no stars. And when you kind of see somebody that could be a threat to what you're doing, or at least in talent-wise, or at least in the sense of could be a threat to what you can do, we see that a long time away. Me as a recording artist, I can know when a guy's developing. I'm like, yo, this dude could be a star. And then 5 years later, he becomes one of the biggest artists around because we know that. We kind of can tell. I think Sheryl knows the talent of Caitlyn, and I think that she is annoyed about all the publicity she's getting and feel like she hasn't proved anything. But now the public perception is like, yo, you hating. And once again, I did not feel that way at first until I did my research. And then once I heard the conversation she had with Nancy Lieberman and how personal she did. And then when she did that quote tweet and didn't even see everything that Nancy said, but just quote tweeted and just saw that clip and then, and then had an opinion, but didn't even follow everything that was said, I knew it was a problem. So in my opinion, yeah, it sounded like Sheryl kind of hating. You know what I mean? And if you're a healthy hater, ain't nothing wrong with being a hater if that's who you are. especially if you got the resume to back it up. It's not a good look, but it's human nature. If you hating, you hating, but just stand on it. You know what I mean? So, that is my edition of Teasy's Chronicles here. Sheryl Swoopes versus Caitlin Clark. Is Sheryl Swoopes hating on Caitlin Clark? At first, I didn't believe so. At first, she just had an opinion, especially when she was on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. I was like, okay, I see what she's saying. Now, we're seeing what she's accomplishing in the league in her rookie year. Market shares have gone up. Ticket sales have gone up more than they've ever been. And it's still no praise. Yeah, I kind of feel like yay. Once again, I go by the name of Monteasy. Subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. This channel's growing up to be something incredible. We have a whole media platform coming here. Make sure you guys tune in to everything we have going on. I am your humble leader of this channel, Teasy's Table Entertainment. I will be doing more of these Monteasy Chronicles. This is crazy, y'all. Keep rooting for Clayton and Clark. This is about to be her league. Bonafide Rookie of the Year, y'all. At Teasy Jones on everything social media. www.teasystable.com. Salute. You hear me?